He had an option not to invade, yet he did it. He had an option even to keep Crimea for 15 years. He did not accept it. It was never enough, he always wanted more. In the first couple of months there were just so many options how this war could have ended, but as Ukraine started to get more confident and started liberating its city after city, all the favorable positions for Putin started to be off the table. He now has only one option left, but he will not accept it. What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. So, before we begin, please let me know in the comments what do you think this very last option for Putin is. Is it to win this war no matter the cost? Is it to pressure Ukraine into giving up Crimea and maybe even Donbass? Or maybe is it even to intentionally isolate Russia from the rest of the world so that he can stay in power for as long as he wants? While these options might sound pretty reasonable for Putin, I personally think that the only final option that he still has left is to lose in this war. And subconsciously he also knows this. That is why it is so hard for him to acknowledge this, and he's trying his best to find the exit from the room without doors. He just went too far. There is no going back from here, no excuses. He loses, he will be prosecuted, and he knows it. All the people around him know this as well, but at the same time, if they separate themselves from Putin right now too early, this will destroy them even sooner. Putin will punish them, and I guess you already know what I mean. So many people close to Putin, they wanted to retire when this war started, but they simply couldn't do it. Such as, for example, Elvira Nabiulna, who is until now is the head of the Central Bank of Russia. She wanted to resign 1 month after the invasion began, but she was not allowed to quit. It was made sure she knows it, and now she just has to keep going with whatever she has left for as long as possible, and pretty much delay the inevitable. And that is why such people are forced to say what they say right now in order to be on good terms with Putin for as long as he is in power. And even if it feels like that Putin is losing the influence, he is still powerful enough to reach the people he does not like. And Putin, obviously, he does not want to go down as well. This will be the end for him in all meanings of this word. There are two things in life he cherishes the most. It is the life itself and the power. And now I want you to think about something. When was the last time you saw Putin with his wife or kids? Does he even have them? Aren't politicians are supposed to be like family people? And if you're like, huh, that's right, please consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel. So yes, Putin divorced his wife in the middle of 2013, just like 6 months before the invasion into Crimea started. Kinda suspicious, right? There is almost no information available about his kids except just the basics, that there are 2 daughters in their mid-30s and neither of them took the last name of Putin. And there's even little to nothing known about his personal life, is that probably just that he likes judo. All this secrecy is most likely so that his enemies cannot find his weak points where they can push, and that whenever questionable decisions are made, he is the one and only responsible for them and not his relatives. And to go even further, it is just generally easier to switch the blame from one person, from himself, rather than from his entire family. And so, by doing these preparations, Putin got ready to go all the way until the end, whenever it is needed. And now, back to current events. There are no people directly related to Putin in the picture. Most of the time he is alone, and he even tries to distance himself from his so-called inner circle. All this allowed him to practically take any decision he wants without the need to consult with anyone. And this feeling of absolute power and the absence of consequences for his actions, yet, made him believe that he's completely out of touch for the rest of the world. Until now. Until this fatal mistake to invade Ukraine, for whatever goals and reasons he had in his mind at that point. Most likely, the decision to invade itself was made under the impression that the Russian army will just crush Ukrainians, and how they say it, they will take Kiev in 3 days. At least this is what most likely his generals told him out of simply fear to say no to Putin or deliver bad news to him. But at a certain point, the world had enough. And it was Ukrainians who proved to the rest of the world that Putin is not as scary as it seems. In just several months after the beginning, the war started to change in favor of Ukrainians, though there were still some options for Putin to end it once and for all and still get something out of it. But it was not enough. That is why he decided to proceed further. And the longer the war was going, the more powerful and confident Ukraine was becoming, the fewer and fewer options was being left for Putin. All the way until now, when it is Ukraine who dictates the rules and is no longer agreeing to any conditions, requirements or ultimatums by Russia. And so eventually the war will be over, and in one way or another, good always beats evil. And we already are at this point when Putin has only one and only option left, which is to inevitably lose. And that is why the sole purpose of the Russian propaganda at this very moment, as directed by Putin, is to brainwash the people of Russia. That in case Russia loses in this war, every single Russian citizen will lose and be held responsible as well. And this is not true. But this is the way Putin tries to delay the inevitable. Because people, even those far from war, they got scared of just one idea that even them can be held accountable in case this ends bad for Russia. These people being brainwashed by the propaganda, they got scared that Ukrainians will enter their cities and destroy their homes, and then after this, the West will freeze their bank accounts. These people might have been far from war, but this time it came right at their doorstep. Or at least this is what it feels after watching the Russian TV for 24 hours straight. And because of this, some Russians decided to go to this war to, as they think, protect their friends, relatives and homes, while in fact the only thing they protect is Putin and his regime.